her royal loudness herself. I am so psyched that I have Dr. Tiyhari Wilson hanging out with me in the virtual studio. Listen, I told y'all today was going to be a whole entire mood. And today we are coming for your healing. We are coming to stamp out the stigma of mental health. Y'all, we are coming for all those broken pieces in your life right now. Dr. Tiyhari, how are you doing today? I mean, you look amazing.
Thank you so much. Listen, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be on with you today. I'm looking forward to talking to you about mental health, stigmas, and all things that God has given us to heal.
Well, you know, I definitely want to talk about all those things. Now, here's the thing. You, you know, you're a counselor. You wear many hats during the day. I want to know, how do you balance everything, especially with the fact that you do talk to so many people in a day's time? How are you balancing all of that?
You know, so for me, balance is about just kind of planning, you know, and scheduling things out. So for one, I only see so many clients in a day, never more than 8, somewhere between 6 and 8 clients a day. Definitely spend time in meditation between each client. And just kind of taking my time one day at a time, but definitely planning plays a large part and a large role in me being able to maintain balance. Because of course, like you said, I have my clients, but I have family life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's
even for yourself. So in building your own practice, and we're going to get into all of that, but I know that, you know, a large part of my audience, they're women and they have ambition. And how do you find the balance between ambition and true self-care? Because I used to think that self-care was like, I don't know what I thought it was, but I realized, okay, that's more maintenance. You know, I actually had someone that kind of opened my eyes. I was like, Tamika, you getting your nails done and you going and throwing on some lashes, that's maintenance. That's not self-care. So how do you balance being ambitious and actually practicing true self-care?
So, you know, Tamika, a lot of my clients are ambitious women. You know, they're very outgoing. They're business women. They're educated. They have a lot of things going on. You know, they're kind of those women who, you know, they have everything. You know, there's ministry, there's work, there's family. They have a lot going on. When we talk about the idea of self-care, you know, it's exactly what you said. You know, a lot of times we think hair and nails and the spa days, that's self-care. But what about things like the ability to say no? The ability to pull away, you know, the ability to limit taking on more, you know, and over committing ourselves to other people, especially. Wow. So that's the true definition of self-care, is really learning how to establish healthy boundaries for ourselves that work for us. But you have to understand that you cannot allow your ambition to overtake you. That's where you find the balance. Yeah. That's how we do that.
Learning how to say no, learning to pull away has been a difficult task for me, but I'm starting to master it. And I'm like, I learned, once I started saying no to little stuff, I got excited. I was like, no, no, you know, the world just kind of opened up. It's like, okay, people are not falling apart because I'm saying no. And and mastering it, it's like it does take some planning, but it's a beautiful thing once you begin to do it. So in talking about your practice, you are the founder of the Center on Healing LLC. Talk to us about your practice.
So Centered on Healing is basically a holistic approach, solution-based practice, right? It's also faith-based as well, because I'm a believer. I consider myself to be a woman of God. You know, I'm a woman of faith. But we have to understand that there's nothing wrong with the implementation of prayer and therapy, right? You got to have both of those things where I'm from, you know. So for me, in my practice, you know, it's solution-based. You know, what we do with our clients is we either provide therapy, or we provide both therapy and life coaching. It kind of depends on what the client needs. At Centered on Healing, we specialize in working with women because, like I said, most of our clients are women. They're ambitious women, they're business women, they're moms who are trying to find that work-life balance. They're women who are trying to deal with, brokenness, divorce, unresolved issues, mommy issues, daddy issues, anxiety, depression, whatever. And so we really specialize in providing solutions. You know, how do you get to the place that you want to be in? What does your idea of healing look like for you? And then we work together to establish a treatment plan or a plan of action that will bring them from the place that they're in to the place that they want to be. So that's how we work.
I love the name, Centered on Healing.
Yes.
Why is healing the focus?
You know, because that is the principal thing. That's what's most necessary. You know, for most of us, when we look at the root of our issues, most of the time there is a place that is broken. There is a place in this that requires healing. And so when we centered our practice on healing, you know, we start looking at people's, our clients' goals. And when we move kind of in a backwards motion, you know, okay, this is the place that you want to be in, and this is the place that you are. So let's figure out how you got there. And when we begin to look at the root of the issue, almost 99% of the time, there's healing that needs to take place, right? There's a solution that was required because somewhere you decided, these ambitious women that we're talking about, to just keep on going, right? We turn into Dora. You know, we try to Dory. We try to work over it, right? We try to educate over it, right? We build something, we become creative, and instead of us stopping to take that time to heal and to process and to deal with those issues, we just try to live over them, and that doesn't work, right? Every unhealed place will find you in time. Yes. Right. And so when those unhealed places start to manifest themselves, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's in your physical body through, you know, migraines or fatigue or illness, it's gonna show up. So we want to deal with where you need to be healed.
And it's so amazing because I'm thinking about myself. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure at the age of 32. It's like, and you're talking about somebody who very active dance teacher, choreographer. I don't smoke. I don't drink. There is no reason why I should have that. Now, yes, I do have it in the bloodline, but still at 32, there was just no reason.
Very young.
But it's amazing how brokenness and stress will trigger such a manifestation of you know, illnesses in the body. And why in the African American community, why do we have such an issue with seeking out therapy? You know, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think it's taught. You know, I think that for a lot of us, for one, you know, within our race, our culture, right? We pride ourselves on strength, right? Yeah. The strong Black woman, you know, the strong Black men, you know, we're kings and queens, you know, we overcame, you know, all kinds of oppression. We outlived the days of slavery, right? We are empowered people. And so with it, there's this stigma associated with therapy that kind of has taught us that if you're in need of therapy or counseling, that is a sign of weakness, right? So really just kind of this false narrative around therapy. All therapy is for non-Black people, you know, those kind of narratives. And so when we start to convince ourselves, and on the other side of that, we also have the faith-based narrative as well, right? So we have those, if it's not that, you know, that's for people who are weak or that's for people who are crazy, quote unquote, then it's for people who don't believe. You know, we've been taught in the church that, oh, you don't believe God, or oh, you just need to pray about it, or oh, you just need to fast about it, or oh, you just need to speak those things that be not as though they are. You know, just speak to it, right? Speak to the mountain and the mountain will be removed, right? But there's a process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have just been taught wrong. We have been taught that therapy is not a tool that God gave us for healing, but it's absolutely a heaven sent tool, and it works.
It absolutely works. You know, when I realized I was going to be going through a divorce, I went to a therapist probably 3 years ago. And I'll be honest, I also was kind of like, what do I need therapy for? I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like I was damaged in the church when it came to getting counseling, because every pastor is not equipped to be a therapist or to counsel. They're just not. You know, one of my best friends, she's also, you know, she also has her doctorate. She has a practice, and we talk about it all the time that pastors need to understand, like, you probably need to go and take some classes if you're going to be counseling people. I mean, I won't even make you step into it today, but I had a friend that said to me, girl, you need to go to a therapist. You need to talk to a counselor. And because one of my friends who was brown said it to me, I said, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. It was the best thing I could have ever done. And my therapist kind of turned me loose after about 18 months. She was like, okay, you're great. I was like, seriously? Like, you know, and she turned me loose. And I realized there was nothing wrong with it. And I tell people all the time, like, if you can't reconcile the pieces of yourself, because that's what I always say. I said, she helped me reconcile those broken pieces of myself. I was able to put together, oh, you act like this because you were molested. That's normal that you seeking affirmation, because children who are molested tend to seek affirmation from relations. Like, who knew? And sometimes a person who loves you, and just because they love God doesn't mean they're going to get that download, because they don't know. They're not trained. So how can people connect with you? Do you only counsel in person, or do you do virtual counseling?
So the counseling for Centered on Healing is 100% virtual, so that we're able to provide nationwide services. We're using telehealth, or either we do like a Zoom-based service, whatever is convenient, you know, for our clients. That's how the services are provided. They can contact us at www.centeredonhealing.com. That's our website. And there's links there where you can book. Consultations are free. 20-minute consultations are free. And it's just kind of where we have a discussion about, you know, what our clients' goals are, you know, what their expectations are. And then we even take a moment to discuss if they have, if there's any reason why they may be reluctant to, you know, to get services, because sometimes there's reasons why people are afraid to move forward with their services, but definitely is life-changing and necessary.
It's so necessary, so life-changing for the person that is considering working with you. What would be your advice? Because I tell my people, my friends, I'm like, listen, I think you need to go to a therapist. Like the moment I think that they need it, I'm like, you need to go to a therapist, but you need to be open and honest with them and yourself, or else they can't help you. So how does somebody successfully work with a therapist?
I think you have to be open. That's the key to therapy. Sometimes going into therapy means deconstructing what you've already learned, unlearning what you've already learned, putting aside what you've heard about therapy, or how you view your therapist. That is the first thing. The way for you to be successful is really to be open and to do the work. You know, when you're working with your therapist, you're going to have homework. There'll be assignments. There'll be tasks. They may be small. They may be challenging, you know, and understand that there's days that you won't like your therapist. You know, your clinician is not your friend. You know, your clinician is really there kind of as a guide to help get you from one place to another. And so that's really how we arm our clients. We go in from the beginning and we let them know, listen, you know, there will be those days where you won't like me. And that's okay.
Good.
That means it's working. That's what that means.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, my therapist said something to me one time. She was like, so your problem is that you pick people that are broken because it makes you feel needed. And I remember, I'm extra anyway. So I just threw myself in the back of her. I said, girl, you are right. You know, so I was very open.
You were open
to whatever she had to say. I went in there. One of the things you talked about was going in there with a goal and working backwards. And I didn't even know how to do that. But I remember I walked in there. I had been taking notes. And that's one of the things I did before every session is I would probably be taking notes all week or all month, depending on like how we had it spread out, so that I could go to her and say, okay, this is how I was feeling. You know, I'm trying to figure this out. But I went to her and I said, I need to be healed and whole. That's what I want. And so we were able to, we worked back to my childhood. It was a blessing. It was a blessing. Yeah. So I didn't experience where I didn't like her, but I think that's because I was like, I was open, and I was at the end of my life. I said, God, Lord, it wasn't that I was even angry with God or anything. I just was like, God, I need to figure it out. So, you know,
absolutely.
So Dr. Tiyhari, you have an exciting announcement. You have a book coming out. So talk about your book. Yes. Out of everything else you do, now you want to write a book. So talk about your book.
I'm super excited about the book. The book is called An Ishmael Situation, you know, and it will be released on June 1st. It's also available at our site at centeredonhealing.com. And this book is really important to me because I feel like it gives an explanation that so many of us have been looking for as it relates to the situations that we get ourselves into. Anybody who is, you know, familiar with scripture and understands the story of Abraham and Sarah as it relates to Ishmael, you know, we're pretty familiar, and we all pretty much know that, you know, God made Abraham a promise, and Abraham had an expectation of God. And rather than him waiting on the manifestation of what God promised, he and Sarah decided to get together and make that thing happen.
Yes.
And that's how they wound up in an Ishmael situation, you know, which we're still seeing the fruit of to this very day. So a lot of times we get caught up trying to take matters into our own hands and attempting to operate, you know, and to force things to happen prematurely, one, right? And in our own way, right? Without instruction, you know, and then three, then we get upset with God, right? When the situation doesn't turn out the way that we wanted it to turn out. So an Ishmael situation is really about how we begin as believers, you know, to kind of view the promises of God, how we believe for those things and what our posture should be while we believe. Do we build? Do we wait? You know, do we build and wait? You know, what do we look for? What are the signs and the symptoms of what we should be looking for? And then what do we do when we do misstep and find ourselves in an Ishmael situation? How do we recover? And that's where the necessities of therapy and counseling and having, you know, the multitude of counselors, you know, that thing, that's when all those things come into play. How do we recover from our Ishmael situation?
Woo, recovery is key, you know. And I think a lot of times we feel like when we do misstep that God, we look at God like he's us, you know, because for us, we are so quick to be like, yo, you messed up. I you know, once you hurt me and betrayed my trust, I just cut you off. But thank God that he's not like us because I've made missteps and I've been like, Lord, I don't think I made a mistake, but if I did, cover me, you know, cover me. And so I love that. That's going to be powerful just for people to even understand who God is in their life. I love that.
And then understanding that, you know, if you received a promise, if you have a word, if you are believing for something, that even after your Ishmael situation, your Isaac is still going to come. He will still happen. You know, it doesn't automatically disqualify us from having what God said that we would have, because so often we feel like because we've messed up, we're no longer worthy, right, of the promise, or we're not deserving of the promise, or it's not going to happen now. Yes, it will. You have to keep doing the work and you have to keep believing God for the manifestation.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Tiyhari, how can people connect with you again? So I'm hoping that the floodgates open because everybody needs to talk to you. How can people connect?
So people can connect with me through our website at centeredonhealing.com, or they can follow me, you know, on social media, which is at This Is Tiyhari. Tiyhari spelled Tiyhri, or at Tiyhari Wilson on Facebook. So I'm available online, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. And then of course our website would probably be the best way to book a session.
I love how your name had like a T-I-Y, you know, because when I taught my daughter how to spell her name, we had a whole song for it. And so we were just singing it last night, A-N-D-R. So when you were doing it, I was like, yeah, Dr. Tiyhari has a song for her name.
Right.
I love it.
That early.
Yes. Thank you so much for spending time with me tonight, spending time with all of my listeners. This has been eye-opening, and I really pray that people will take advantage of the fact that there are tools for healing. Do you have any final words that people need to understand when it comes to pursuing healing intentionally?
Yeah, I think that was the perfect closing. You know, it should be intentional. You know, if you need to be healing, your process must be targeted. It must be intentional. You must go after it with strong pursuit. You know, we don't have to be victims to what we have been through. And what we have been through does not identify who we are or determine who we are. God says that we are overcomers. But guess what? Before you overcome, you got to be equipped. And we have the tools to help you get there.
Ooh, listen, you can overcome, but you got to be equipped. She is preaching today. She is preaching. I love it. I love it. Listen, folks, make sure that you connect with Dr. Tiyhari Wilson. Go to centeredonhealing.com. Do that today. Listen, we're going to be back. I got more coming your way right here on the Tamika Hall Radio Show.